Welcome to the program. I'm Mark Imperial. This segment's being brought to you by booksgrowbusiness.com. It's the place where busy professionals get their books done and published to educate their consumer, to grow their practices, and to leave a legacy. We're doing a series of spotlights on remarkable attorneys from across the country with a focus on elder law and estate planning. Joining me on this segment is Robert Bullock from Washington, D.C. Robert, welcome to the program.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
I know that it's a broad topic, so kindly tell us what your areas of focus are specifically and the types of clients you serve.
The firm is called the Elder and Disability Law Center, and we're metropolitan in DC, Maryland, and Virginia. The focus is on providing all services required for the elder community, which has hit full force and doubled down during the epidemic. And we do full life care planning and management for individuals, which is something we've sort of developed ourselves. We take care of people in crisis, we take care of people in estate planning issues, and we do a little bit differently. We don't serve up documents without doing the planning and the plan first, which involves disability planning, which involves long-term care planning, which involves asset protection, and involves the elephant in the room, Medicaid, which is long-term care in nursing care facilities. We also do guardianships and conservatorships and probate, servicing the elder care community, in the metropolitan area. I'm a little bit unique because I came into this field during the horse and buggy days. And prior to that, I practiced law in commercial areas and finance areas, in divorce areas, and leasing and employment. So I bring to elder law a full scope of understanding and able to address internally in-house all of the issues that elders face as they age.
I understand that elder law really is a more recent evolution of estate planning. Can you tell us a little bit about what was the gap that estate planning had that needed to be filled, or what caused this evolution into elder law?
So it's a good question. The gap is, and I'll use the line I would use with you, or if I were talking to your parents. I'm not a whole lot interested in what happens after you pass. It's taking care of your parent who is 65, 70, whatever age, or has a disability from that time until their death. How is their care going to be initiated and maintained? How is it going to be paid for? What happens if they go into a facility? What options are available to legally preserve assets for children? Or spouses, if someone should, God forbid, have to go into a nursing care facility, and also what type of advocacy does one need as they go through the process. So that's dramatically different from doing, let's do a power of attorney and print it on the, now it's the computer, for those out there who remember the mimeograph machine, print them and give them the form and have them sign it, and the healthcare directive, the same thing. Don't discuss it. Don't deal with terms. We do specialized services to reflect the plan that's needed, not at death, but between the time they start and death. So that's how it all expanded.
So that's a pretty big gap, because none of that was really addressed in the traditional estate planning. It's like what happens when you're still alive.
Exactly.
So that makes a lot of sense.
Right.
So Robert, what are the biggest challenges now that you see people facing, especially, if they've been kicking the can down the road, sort of in crisis mode? What are the number one challenges that you see people face today?
The single biggest challenge is doing the planning, the plan, and getting it done. That's it's that simple. Is what I have experienced is that it is the unique individual who gets it done. And that's the kind of client we try and serve, because getting it done is the momentum of collecting all your documents, getting all your policies in place, getting a prepaid burial and funeral, getting a care manager, determining where you're going to live, and putting all of that into a plan and the planning. And getting that done is a very difficult challenge.
Which probably leads to a lot of procrastination and why it doesn't get done, I'd
Well,
imagine.
you need, as in every business, you need a system. So what we do is we don't take every client. We got to get people who are going to work with us, but we actually have due dates for things. And we have paralegals who are pushing people to get the documents, because I can assure you that is the singular problem of just getting it done and getting all the documents together in a timely fashion. It's a very painful experience.
What have you heard is like some of the biggest misconceptions that you hear out there about
Good question. The biggest misconception, I believe, is that Medicaid will take everything. That's the myth on, if God forbid a loved one has to go into long-term care, and that's what they come to us with. It's not true. You are allowed legally to do Medicaid planning as part of your estate planning. There are rules about transferring assets. There are rules about gifting, and people have tremendous misconceptions about that.
And it's probably spread by the people that were unprepared, because I just heard this recently in a conversation. Somebody said, no matter how much money you got saved up, it doesn't matter if you end up in a facility, it's all gone. They're taking it all. That's what they say.
You're reciting the myth, and it is 180 degrees opposite with proper and legal Medicaid planning. And Medicaid planning, really, when you come up to 1,000 feet, is tax planning and Medicaid planning and estate planning and financial planning, disability planning, and where you want your money to go and how it's going to go. And it's doable if you start and get it done.
Robert, you mentioned a lot of different areas of focus that you've studied that have brought you to where you are practicing today. What inspired you to take on elder law as a focus? How did you get to this point? How'd you get started?
It's a good question, and I've been asked it many times. I had the roots of service in this area because my oldest daughter has Down syndrome. So I was active in special education and doing this kind of work on a limited basis. And then someone asked me to deliver a lecture on Medicaid to a bar association. And I found that there wasn't a lot of knowledge out there. This was just before the Civil War, I think, is when that occurred. And for those who didn't find that funny, it was 1999, I think, and asked me to deliver on a lecture on Medicaid to a bar association. And I went out and studied Medicaid, and I was at that stage of my career that I could actually talk to the people who wrote the legislation. So I got into understanding the roots of Medicaid and how the policy was, what the different laws, statutes were considered. And I lectured on that to a bar association, and then got 4 cases and 5 cases and 6 cases, and became, quote, an expert on Medicaid. And it's just expanded ever since.
Now, you just inspired the thought of special needs. Now, that must be a whole nother big subject in elder law and estate planning.
Exactly. And that field is it's under the rubric of supplemental need trusts, is the key vehicle that can preserve assets for people with disabilities. And it is an expansive field. It is complex. There are people who specialize in it, and it's a method interestingly, in our social system that allows, it's the only group of people with disabilities who can preserve their assets for their use and also obtain public benefits. And that's, generally speaking, supplemental security income, Medicaid, and certain elements of Section 8 housing.
So, Robert, before I ask you my last question, it's obvious that being proficient in these areas takes a lot of specialized knowledge. So could you tell the folks listening today, what should they look for to find the right elder law attorney or estate planning attorney to work with? Because clearly this isn't just for a general practitioner. Not everybody can do this.
I think that's a good question, and um, I'm gonna answer it a little bit reverse. The planning that is required and the services are going to be needed is an investment. If you remove the concept of legal fees and view it as an investment in your future disability issues, Medicaid issues, long-term care planning, care issues, disposition of assets at death, all of those have to be addressed. It's a job. And you, as the client, have to learn the job. So how do you do that? And the most efficient way I find is to do your research on elder law attorneys in your geographic area and consult with them. Some will do it for free, some may charge, but you have to get educated on this so that you can run your own plan. And let me be very clear, it is a job, which ties right into what you asked me at the beginning, and we've gone full circle. Welcome to a new job and welcome to getting it done. And what you have to do is figure out your theory, strategy, and tactics and talk to some elder law attorneys, understand what they're going to do, understand your participation, and choose someone who you can work with in that environment. And you're comfortable with the fee arrangement.
So now for the folks listening in areas that you can serve in the country, for folks that are ready to get it done, how do they find you, connect with you, and learn more?
The office phone number is 202-452-0000, and they can talk to Carmen Biedra and set up a time to talk, or she will listen to the circumstances. They can also look at our website, which is www.edlc, elderdisabilitylawcenter.com. They can also look at AVO, AVVO.com, and punch in my name, Robert Bullock, and they'll see how I'm rated in the community. I generally work whatever time it takes. There are a lot of consults in the evening, and I will take the time to assess someone's situation, particularly a crisis, which we do a lot of, and get them in the right direction. If we're not the right fit, I'll get them placed.
Robert, this has been terrific. I really appreciate your insights and taking the time sharing with my audience today, and I wish you continued success for you and for all of your clients.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity.
Robert Bullock from Washington, D.C. And this segment's been brought to you by booksgrowbusiness.com. It's the place where busy professionals get their books done and published to educate their consumers, grow their practices, and leave a legacy. That's all for now. I'm Mark Imperial, and thanks for joining me.